Hello, this is Jacqueline from Long Arming by Jacqueline, and for this Whatcha Sewin Wednesday we're going to do a quick video. I got some new stencils in, so I do all custom hand guided. That means some people do pantograph, which can be a pre-made design on a piece of paper or a digital file that goes into a computer that runs your machine. So hand guided as opposed to a computer with servos running the machine. And custom means I'm doing all free motion. I do use some rulers and stencils as guides, but it's all basically freehand. So I've had some questions recently about rulers and templates and that sort of thing. So as you can see, it's spring. I've got customer jobs coming in and piling up. I've got one on the long arm now, so we're just gonna make this quick. My first batch of stencils I got from Angela Walter's website, which is Quilting is My Therapy, and based on the sticker, this was actually originally wholesaled from Linda's Electric Quilters, and this is a great template. So it's a thin, flexible piece of plastic, and it just has your 8 radiating lines on there. So if you're doing any kind of a motif and you want it to be sort of evenly centered around the middle of the block, and what you do is you take this pounce pad, and this is the chalk that goes in it, you open it up and you brush it over the top, and it leaves just a faint little, and I use pink because it's visible on most fabrics, and you wipe that across, and it's going to leave a nice imprint of these radiating 8 lines. So if you want to do any kind of octagonal sort of based design, or if you want to find just the diagonals or just the sort of plus sign center lines, this is great and really useful. And then the other one, so I don't like to buy rulers and templates that only do one thing, because I find that very limiting. I find it to be kind of a waste of money, and then you have to have the template for everything. So I would rather figure out how to freehand and customize it. Then I have every size, and if I want it turn around the corner or the wing up or whatever, I can just do that. But this is a great template. This is the same thing. I bought it through Quilting is My Therapy, but it's actually was wholesaled from Linda's Electric Quilters. And this is kind of your basic 9 patch, and that's another great one. And you can use part or all of this. Like say I just wanted a guide for a nice even square, I can just do that. Or sometimes I'll use just the outer border and I don't need all this middle stuff. But this can take like a whole cloth square and create the look of a 9 patch. And then you could put your different fillers or whatever have you in the 9 patch. And then more recently, I placed an order with the stencil company, and it's quiltingstencils.com, and I got some stencils that I thought, so I kind of put my rules to it. It has to be something that some of the stencils I looked at and thought I would rather freehand that, and it doesn't make sense to have it in one specific size. They were like too specific, and I don't do any kind of quilting that repeatedly that I can't just do by hand. So I got 2 Celtic knots. I don't know if you can see that. And I like the idea of these, and this is not something that I'm going to use super often, that I'm going to remember how it goes to do a 1 line. But if I pull this out and look at it, and I want this in a different size, I can kind of mark off the reference lines, how big I want it, and use this template to remember how to do it as a 1 line long arm design. So you don't want to do a lot of stops and starts. Ideally, once you get going, you complete the whole design and move on to other designs without stopping. And then I thought this one was cool too. This is another Celtic knot from the stencil company, and it was the same idea. I thought it was really neat. There is some backtracking to get those to look continuous, but trying to figure out who loops over and who loops under to get that woven effect was not something I wanted to remember, and not something I use often enough to build muscle memory. And I thought, this is something I'd like to have in my toolkit, in my back pocket, to be able to pull out. So the reason I got on the website to begin with is because I was looking for some fleur-de-lis. So this is what I originally Googled and landed on their website. So a fleur-de-lis, it has to look a certain way, it has to be symmetrical, and if you freehand this, it's liable to look like a hot mess if you don't have some sort of reference lines to kind of pull it together and make it look right, because everybody knows what that fleur-de-lis, even if you couldn't draw it, if you see it and it's not right, you're gonna know. So I got this one, and then I kind of got one that's a little more simplified, but more of a motif that would go filling a whole block. And this is pretty large, but I could scale it down if I needed to. I would just sort of take the idea of it and sketch it on there and do it by hand. But it would give me, in my mind's eye, sort of the direction and the pattern and the general shape of it. So I could recreate that in another size based on this idea. Then I really liked this motif. And I thought, what is this called? So these were just in the fleur-de-lis category. This one they're calling Casablanca. And you don't have to do the little hearts if you don't want, but you can do kind of this swirling around motif. It's a little traditional with the hearts and kind of the repetition. And I just liked it. I liked how it formed a star in the middle. And it was kind of sweet with the hearts. And it can fill up a block and create a motif. And you could do this, I could see doing this kind of on point in a block and then adding some sort of additional customization around that. So it kind of passed the test. I thought it would be useful in a variety of scenarios. I can use parts of it or all of it. I can use the idea and scale it up or down by hand. So then I thought these were real sweet. These are little butterflies, and I like to do like a rose in the border is really pretty, so it's very fluffy, and you kind of freehand the rose in a leaf and then meander, just a thin line going to the next one. So you have a lot of puffy area in there that gives a very soft, fluffy border, and it's not too quilted down. You don't have to worry about being too close to the edge, which is sometimes a problem. And I thought this would make a lovely little meander too. So these are single line butterflies. That was another big test for me. Single line. Some of those stencils that are out there are not for free motion quilting on the machine. They're more designed for hand quilting, or I don't like to do a lot of starts and stops. It takes a lot of time and thread to do a lot of starts and stops. So if your design is really intensive in starts and stops, it's just not conducive to efficient long arming. So these little butterflies, and again, I can kind of get the feel of the pattern. I can use this card as a memory trick and scale these up and down once I get the hang of it, and then be able to do those. I just felt like it was a design I could learn and I could use in a variety of quilts. So this one is big. It is similar to the original ones that I got. So these are so universal, and you can just mark out a guide and do whatever you want with these. So this is 8-pointed, which also can be used for either of the 4-point options. But sometimes you don't want to do like an octagon or go to every corner. So this one does 6-sided hexagons. So if you want to do a motif with a sort of hexagonal axis there, you can do that. And this one, did I say that backwards? I think I'm lying to you. This is the 5-pointed. That is 5-pointed. I'll get myself together. This one, it's got more lines. This is 6-pointed. So it allows you to do hexagonal designs and mark those out. So you don't have to mark the whole thing out that you do, but having a reference line or having a little card that's going to help you learn and remember a new design can be really helpful tools. So that's our Whatcha Sewin Wednesday special video. The items you saw today came from Quilting is My Therapy, which is Angela Walters, Linda's Electric Quilters out of Texas, and then quiltingstencils.com, which looks to be out of Pennsylvania. All right, this has been Jacqueline from Long Arming by Jacqueline. We do quilt by mail. Comment below if you want to see more about templates. Maybe we'll do another video about my favorite rulers. I will tell you, the ruler I use every time, which is out because I'm long arming today, is this. It's like 5 or 6 inches long and maybe 2 inches wide, and I cannot live without that one. That came from Sewing Machines Plus, I believe. Join us on Facebook, Long Arming by Jacqueline. Massey.jc is us on Instagram. And of course, subscribe to the channel to see more great free content here on YouTube. We have a complete video series, start to finish, for first-time quilters, teaching you how to take a seam all the way through finishing your first quilt, and that's free, and there's a playlist on our channel for that. We've got fun little tips and inspiration, so join us, have fun, enjoy yourself, and happy Whatcha Sewin Wednesday. Bye!